Alright, so we got the fan and shroud out real quick, and then as you can see there, that's where the leak is at, right here on the pump. I'm not sure what exactly on the pump is leaking yet until I pull it off, but moving forward. Hey, good morning everybody, happy Tuesday. We're out here in the garage before work doing a little side work on a Jeep Liberty. Gotta do a power steering pump, but I get to break out this Capri set that I've had at home, this 1/4 inch drive impact socket set, and looking forward to finally using it. It's been sitting there for a while and haven't had a whole lot of side work coming in, so get to use it. I'm happy, so let's go. I always find that it's easier to take off the pulley while it's still mounted on the engine, especially if you don't have a vise at home. It really helps out. You got that support, so that would be my recommendation for that. Let's go. Of course my light would go out right now in the middle of this. You're better off without it. You want to do this by hand. You don't want to run an impact on it. I mean, you can, but I wouldn't recommend it. It's nice and slow. Using these old USA made Craftsman wrenches on this, and a Pittsburgh that I'm pretty sure I drew a dig on. Is this the one? Oh no, this is the one I didn't do that on. Wow. Kinda wish I had my Capri offset wrenches for this as well, but they're at work where they get used more. So tech tip when you are pulling the pulley off while mounted on the vehicle, if you have a piece of cardboard, put a piece of cardboard here against the radiator. That way, in case you do break it loose and your hand comes flying with a tool or the part, it doesn't damage the radiator. Unfortunately, I don't have a piece of cardboard that big right now, but I'm going to be very careful with what I'm doing, and I thought I'd throw that piece of advice out there for you. Alright, get yourself a drip pan, something to catch the oil, because your high pressure hose is plumbed in right here through the bottom, and it's like a 16 millimeter, I believe, or 5/8 is what I used. Just remove the fitting, let the oil drain out. It's nice to get like an old piece of carpet and cut it out and use it as a backup just in case. Helps keep the garage clean. Alright, so the next step would be to just remove the pump completely, because in order to get to the low pressure line, it's easier if you just remove it and take it off once it's removed. So we're just taking the bolts off here, and I'll show you where that's at. Alright, so now that it's removed, it's on the back side. You'll just see it's held on with just a pinch clamp. So basically try not to make a mess. Wiggle that clamp off once you compress it, and if you have a bolt or something you could shove in there just to keep it from dripping everywhere. Be a good idea. So yeah, let's move on. Alright, so got the pump off. Now the next step to be, if you are changing the high pressure hose, which I highly recommend, would be you got to get the other end off first of all, which goes somewhere over here. You're going to want to take off the 1, 2, 3, 4 Torx head bolts and remove the grill. Once you got the grill removed, easiest access would be to remove the driver's side headlight. So we're going to go ahead and do that. And the Torx size on that is a T20 Torx. Okay, so we got to change out that high pressure hose now. And like I mentioned before, it's underneath here. What you're looking at is a bracket like that. It sits underneath the this plastic housing. So if you peek in there through this little hole, you can see those 2 bolts right there. That's the bracket. So if you have a 1/4 inch wobble, you can, and an extension, you probably fit through there, but unfortunately, the wobble that came in that Capri set, I have at work. I don't feel like going and getting it right now, so I'm gonna see if I could find some other way to get it out. The Sonex wobble is too big, so we'll see what we could do here. All right, so what I got in there right now is Mac 1/4 inch flex ratchet and a 10mm deep socket. Not a whole lot of swing arc in there. Can't really move around too much, but if you angle the flex head just right, it gives you a little more area to turn and turn out little by little. But this is a really coarse tooth ratchet, so it's not making it easy, but I'd rather do that than avoid notching this thing out a little bit, which I've seen a lot of people do just to fit a socket in there, but we'll get her done. This is the great thing about flex head ratchets. I got it at 90 degrees right now. And it's going. Little by little. All right, shout out to Mike Castro, aka M Castro on Instagram, for selling me this ratchet. Best 40 bucks I ever spent. Definitely got in there and got it done, but recommendation when you're working on the far more outer bolt, use a shallow 10, not a deep, because you'll bottom out right here and you can't get anywhere. Can't even flip the selector switch because you're smashed on it. So just a little word of advice. Okay, so look, we got it out. I had to remove the horn, 2 horns actually, because the wires run right in between the loop of the hose, so there's no way to pull it out. And one of the connectors was just jammed, stuck. I sprayed it with penetrating oil. I let it sit. I wiggled it. The red locking tab for the connector was out, and it still just did not want to come off. So I ended up just taking off the whole bracket with the horn and kind of fishing it through that way. But yeah, it's kind of a pain in the ass. I don't know why they ran the wires right through there. Dumbass fucking idea, but then again, it is a Jeep, so all right, let's move on. All right, so I cleaned it up the best I can. That shit's coked on there pretty good. I used a scraper and penetrating oil and got as much off as I can for now. So let's go ahead and start the reassembly, and we'll probably just pressure wash this after. So see how it looks then. Alright, so reverse of removal. You're gonna fish the new bracket in like so, in that way. And there you can see the 2 bolts. Get those started finger tight. Don't tighten them down yet. Just get a couple threads started. That way you have room to set up your hydraulic fittings on this side. Remember to put your new O-rings in. Comes with the line, it should at least. This thing came with it. My thought was to sit over here while you're putting in one end, that way you don't get dirt in the other end, but it doesn't even fit. So I thought that maybe it's just to press the O-ring flush against the flange. So that's what I did with it. I'm not sure, but it seemed to work. So let's get that started into the rack there, and that fitting, we're gonna get it in, and then we'll put in the pump. Normally I would want to use like a flare nut wrench, or yeah, I had that shit in my mouth. Normally you'd want to use a flare nut wrench, or like a crow's foot flare nut. But since I don't have that here, we are working at home today. This is not what I do on a regular basis. I work on diesels, but you can just get it snugged up with a good wrench. Alright, so reverse of removal. First thing you're going to do before you put the pump onto the engine, you want to put that low pressure hose on, because once it's on the engine, you have a real hard time putting it back on. So clean it up before you put it on. Once you got it on, clamped, then mount to the engine. All 3 bolts for the power steering pump are the same size, so you don't have to worry about orientation. Alright, I get them started, decent amount of threads, and leave a little bit of wobble room, so I can get that lower high pressure hydraulic fitting in. And once I get that started, then I'll go ahead and snug up the bolts tight and torque to spec. Alright, so now we're getting the pulley back on, and you're just gonna use the special tool and tighten it onto the shaft until it's flush with the shaft of the pump itself. And I'll show you a picture here of what it looks like as soon as we get this thing snugged up. But it should go on smooth. If you feel like it's fighting you, it's probably going on crooked, and just back it off and realign. But this one seems to be going on pretty smooth, so we'll keep going. Let's speed things up a little bit. Switched over to the Olsa Tools ratcheting wrench, just because I don't want to be cranking on it all day. Alright, so there you see it. Flush with the shaft there. Right there, nice and flush. And you can't really see on the back. It's kind of too tight up in there, but basically that's what you're looking for. And obviously if it's lined up to the water pump pulley as well. If it looks off, then you're gonna get extreme belt wear and probably kill that water pump pretty quick. Yeah, before all this was started, I did take a picture of the belt routing. Luckily, it's right here, and it's accurate, so that's nice. I'll just go off that. Alright, so we got the belt on, and like I mentioned before, with this power steering pulley, it is press fit, and there we go. I'm just marking it with a little bit of torque seal, and the only reason why I'm doing that is because I could monitor whether it's slipping on the shaft, and or if it's starting to back off as I road test it. So give yourself a little mark, and gives you a little added security. We use this stuff at work all the time on everything, and I figured might as well get some at home. You can get this off of Amazon. It's not too expensive. I'll see if I can post a link in the the description, but it's good security. Alright, so get your fan shroud back on. Make sure it's clipped in correctly. Let me see if I can get a light here. It sits in these lower clips right there, and bolts up to the top with those 10mm head bolts. Same thing on this side. Make sure they're in, otherwise you won't get a good seal around the radiator. And always make sure you plug in your electric cooling fan. This one I broke the red clip, so I had to zip tie it just to secure it, but make sure you plug that in. Get your grill back on. Top off your reservoir. Lift the vehicle off the ground, and turn left to right at least 10 to 20 times. Make sure you get all the air out of the system, and you should be good to go.